What is up, my fellow Chibits? Today, I'm here to bring all of you a video on Tokyo Ghoul discussing who is the One-Eyed King. For the past few weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, since I haven't been able to do a lot of Tokyo Ghoul videos because of problems with the channel, along with, kind of been doing a lot of reactions and not doing, reviews and stuff, I'm neglected to talk about this core topic. Who is the One-Eyed King? And so many of you Chibits, throughout majority of these weeks, these past couple weeks, have asked me, what is my viewpoint? Who do I think is the One-Eyed King? And what is my overall thoughts on these recent chapters? And so today, I'm here to discuss a topic that is kind of spanned through the recent chapters and kind of put it in one core video and discuss this topic. Who is the One-Eyed King? And so that's kind of what this entire video is going to be about. Now, I want to do a quick disclaimer here. If you're not up to date with Tokyo Ghoul Read Chapter 66, this is going to contain spoilers. So if you're not up to date with that chapter, you will spoil yourself. Now, if you're still wanting to watch it and you haven't read up the chapter, feel free to do so. But I'm giving you a proper warning before I continue on this video. So I'm going to give you 3 seconds before I start getting into spoilers. So 3, 2, 1, start. Okay, so now we're going to be getting into the spoiler segment of this video. So who is the One-Eyed King? This is what many are asking, and I've seen so many discuss it in the comments, and I've thought long and hard about who is the One-Eyed King. I mean, I've kind of made my point clear of who I think the One-Eyed King is, for instance, Kaneki, but there is other candidates for the One-Eyed King that many are discussing at this moment. So let's mention the few that are coming up. So for one, the first one to dive into, I want to get into, is Farrotto. Farrotto is a character that has been in the spotlight quite often in these recent months, because he's a character that we've seen that is connected to everything. He is a man that is the reason why part 1 of Tokyo Ghoul came into being. For instance, he's the one that caused Kaneki to turn into a ghoul. He's the reason that Rize got, still beams thrown on top of her. He is the reason why so many things have happened throughout the series of Kaneki being, tortured by Jason, how Kaneki was able to live on, and for instance, how, Kaneki turned into Sasuke. I mean, he has the entirety of the story is thanks to Farrotto. His entire existence has caused the makeup of Tokyo Ghoul. So he's a very important and iconic character at this moment. And just very recently, Ashita actually did an illustration on his Twitter page, which I have a video I want to be talking about when it comes to that, because I have a couple of, theories to discuss. But Ashita recently even did a color page picture of Farrotto. It's on his Twitter, and it discusses, or it doesn't really discuss, it shows Farrotto having a rope around his neck, like some form of, he's hanging himself for suicide. And like I said, I'm going to discuss that. But it's a really interesting thing that Ishida is doing at this time, because, I mean, out of all characters, he's doing more, color pictures, like he's drawing Farrotto over any other character, and usually when Ishida does that, that means that character is going to be rather important to the story very soon. And obviously, Farrotto is very important just because he's revealed that he is Sota, and, his connection to V, CCG, Ogiri Tree, Dr. Kano, to, all sorts of other things, like Clown too. You don't know what side he's on, and Washu at that. So, Farrotto, he's a lot of things. He is so many things. He's a triple, quadruple, fucking, just all sorts of freaking agents. Like, he is not just one agent. He has multiple sides to him, and we don't really know his entire personality. But we did get a glimpse of his personality in the recent chapter, Chapter 66. We saw him kind of remove this mask and start acting like a very, I guess, a person that has this demeanor about him that is abusive, or someone that is very, very angry, or someone that kind of dislikes their position in life. For instance, how his father is, you can't be called father. And we felt a little bit about his personality, and it was the first time we got to see Farrotto in that type of situation, with acting like he did. Usually he's happy-go-lucky, or he puts on this mask where he's smiling, or something like that. The way he acted in the latest chapter towards Eto was probably one of the most human reactions we've seen out of him, or some of the, I guess, different reactions we've seen out of him, because we usually see him, putting on this mask, and seeing how he kind of removed that, it was really cool to see how his character was displayed. But that's not the main subject at hand, so we're getting back on topic. Who is the One-Eyed King? So, out of all these things that Farrotto is, I will say this, however, I do not believe Farrotto is the One-Eyed King. Is he possibly related to the One-Eyed King? Maybe, because in the recent chapter, Chapter 66, we get a flashback, getting to see Farrotto and Rize. And they're young, they're children. We know Rize is very young at that time because, you know, she had to escape V. And from the way the design of the background and stuff was in Chapter 66, it looked like the Sunlit Garden. As you know, the Sunlit Garden is connected to V because we were getting a lot of different, you know, kind of information and hints about the Sunlit Garden, and Arima also being hinted to be there and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things that we still need to know, but we can kind of put a guess on what this means. And so, with Farrotto and Rize being in the same place at a very young age, and we found out that Farrotto asked Rize, like, have you been bred? It's very vague. It's a very vague concept. You don't know exactly what that entirety means. Like, you don't know exactly what all that means. But from what you can assume is that Farrotto and Rize were bred to be born. For instance, they are bastards. Now, I'm not meaning it in a bad sense. I mean, like, they're in a case of Jon Snow. If you've ever watched Game of Thrones or read the books or whatever, you know what a bastard is. And there's a possibility that Farrotto and Rize and the others have been bred and born into existence because of other ghouls. Like, for instance, let's say a human father or something, or a human mother have, you know, mated with a ghoul and then became, like, let's say, Rize or Farrotto. And that's kind of what I think is going on here. So Farrotto, the reason why he probably can't call his father is probably because he is half ghoul, or, you know, his father, you know, had sexual intercourse with a ghoul and while he was there, and he was bred to be born. So I could see how something like that could possibly lead him to being related to the original One-Eyed King, but that's a very small chance, but there is a possibility. We can't just completely throw that off the table, even though it's not 100%, even though it's not 99% chance, we can't throw off the table that maybe Farrotto could possibly be related to the One-Eyed King in some way, depending on, you know, whatever ghoul that, you know, the Washu mated with. So let's look at another candidate. So I highly doubt Farrotto is the One-Eyed King, since he wants to know more about the One-Eyed King and who it is, and ask Eto in the latest chapter who is it a symbolic king? He even infiltrated the clowns and stuff just to figure out who it is, and he doesn't really know who it is. But Eto does confirm and say that the One-Eyed King does exist. So let's move on to the next person. So the next person to talk about is Arima. He is a character that's gotten a lot of spotlight in recent chapters, especially with the overall blind spot. And this is a subject many have wanted me to talk about in the recent few weeks, because many want my thoughts on how do I feel about Arima kind of losing his vision. How do I feel about Arima might be the One-Eyed King? Because some were saying that since Arima, he has a messed up right eye, like his eye's starting to become like blind, like he has a blind eye, maybe his other eye's being fucked up too, there's a possibility that maybe the One-Eyed King doesn't necessarily mean One-Eyed Ghoul, and it could possibly mean, you know, Arima, since he has probably one eye at this moment. Now, this is just what many Chibits are discussing. I wanted to bring it up because this is what many are trying to believe who is the One-Eyed King. And so discussing Arima, he's a man with a huge track record. We don't know a lot about Arima, but we do know a lot of things to know that he's an incredible person when it comes to battling, and he's someone you just do not want to fuck with. He's the Reaper of CCG, and if you mess with him, he's gonna probably kill your ass. I mean, look what he did to, you know, Sachi in the recent chapter of Tokyo Ghoul. He fucking kicked his ass. And so, Arima is not someone you can really easily fight. I mean, he fought the One-Eyed King, or, you know, One-Eyed Owl, excuse me. He fought the One-Eyed Owl, and he fought Eto in the past multiple times. And because of this, we know Arima is not someone that you could easily just push to the side. So, because of this, what we can assume is that maybe the One-Eyed King doesn't necessarily mean that it retains the ghouls. It could mean that it's just someone that could possibly be going blind in one eye, which, knowing Ishida, that'd be pretty fucked up if he did that, but I highly doubt Arima is the One-Eyed King, since he's connected to V, and since we know that he has a sadistic side, the way he's treated Kaneki or Sasaki, the way he acts, and also some of the things we found out from the OVA series, Tokyo Ghoul Jack, or, you know, the manga Tokyo Ghoul Jack. We found out a little bit more about Arima's past before he got white hair, of course, in which that has never been explained. How did Arima get white hair? That is something we still need to know to this date, and I can't wait till, you know, Ishida-sensei finally reveals that, but that's for another topic another day. But at this time, Arima is too closely connected to V. He's a lapdog for the Washus and V, and I just do not believe he could possibly be the One-Eyed King, just because of some of his track record or the way he acts. He is a mysterious character, of course. He has this mysterious background, but I just do not believe Arima at this time could possibly be the One-Eyed King. But who knows? Ishida could throw that curveball, and maybe Arima could be. So the next person up on, you know, the plate is Hide. Now, Hide is a character I see many talk about. There's so many theories about Hide, his lying habits, all sorts of other things I've talked about and others have talked about. And many have mentioned once before, what if Hide is the One-Eyed King? Now, there's all sorts of theories. There's a clown theory, there's a theory that Hide's a washu, there's a theory that Hide, you know, just doesn't care about Kaneki. I mean, there's just so many theories out there. You can just throw them out there and slap the wall, and some of them do make sense. A lot of them make sense and actually sticks with it. But the one I want to focus on is Hide being the One-Eyed King. At this time, we have no concrete evidence that Hide was ever a ghoul. From what we assume, he's a regular human, but we do know he has a mysterious past because of information we know with his childhood and his upbringing. He might have connection to clowns, he might have connection to being a part of a ghoul family, he might, you know, be a washer. We have no fucking idea. But at this time, there's not any information, concrete evidence to assume that Hide is the One-Eyed King. But that is not something we can entirely throw off the table, because thinking about the entirety of Tokyo Ghoul Re, out of all the characters that we've wanted to see get reintroduced back into Part 2, Hide is the one character that has kind of been pushed to the side. We can say Hide's dead, we can say Hide is going to come back, we don't know. We don't know if he's dead or alive, but his character is shrouded in mystery, and we probably can all assume he might come back. The question is, when and how will he come back? Because in the latest chapter, Almond makes an appearance, and we know for a fact he's not the One-Eyed King. So, what if Hide, what Eto's talking about, what if it's Hide? Hide going to appear and he's going to be the One-Eyed King. That's a possible theory. So, at this moment, we don't know much, but what if Hide returned to be the One-Eyed King, which would be really fucked up, but we'll save that for another day. So, next person to move into, let's move into Eto and Kaneki. Kind of these two characters are, you know, tangled together, and when I discuss one character like Eto, I need to discuss the other character, Kaneki. So let's first dive into Eto. So Eto, we always assumed since the very beginning with the One-Eyed King's introduction and finding out more about the One-Eyed Owl, Kuzan, all that, finding out about this connection of Ogiri Tree, we always assumed it was Eto that was the One-Eyed King. Myself included, I thought Eto was the One-Eyed King, and still to this day, you could say that Eto was the stand-in. She was the stand-in One-Eyed King. She was the person just in that position that took the position of the One-Eyed King. Even though she wasn't the One-Eyed King, she was just, in name sense, she was just holding on to the title until someone with a proper upbringing to turn into the real One-Eyed King. So she was just holding on to the title until then, which would lead into Kaneki most likely being the next One-Eyed King. So Eto, she's kind of thrown off the table as being the real One-Eyed King. She was just a stand-in. So moving over into Kaneki, we recently found out more about Kaneki's real past, his real self. Kaneki was abused by his mother. He was a boy that was broken before we even met him in Part 1. We never truly knew the real Kaneki before Part 1. When Part 1 was coming and it was being written by Ishida-sensei, we never saw Kaneki. We never saw the real boy that was getting messed with by his mother. And with the recent reveals in the latest like 10 to 15 chapters, we found out the true personality. The real Kaneki is someone that is kind of suicidal. He's someone that wants to die. He's done with this world, but he wants to die in style and be loved. This was a conversation he had in his head with himself. And him wanting to die in style kind of suits the theme of the One-Eyed King. Let's discuss this. So, with the exchange between the two Kanekis inside of his head, they have a discussion saying, I want to die in style. And with the king being very symbolic, the One-Eyed King carrying on hope and change for many ghouls, and changes for humans alike, that king is a symbol. And if Kaneki was to take up the mantle of the One-Eyed King, it would mean that he could possibly die in style, because he would take upon himself to change the world, change this broken world, the birdcage, shatter it, and then die for that cause, which would cause it where many would love him and then worship him as their king even after death, and so Kaneki would be forever remembered. And let's think about the dialogue that Kaneki said in the latest chapter. He said, this is, quote-unquote, my last job. My last job. End of quote. So, with Kaneki saying that, this is my last job, maybe he's saying, since this is my last job, this is his final act before he dies in style. For instance, him taking upon the mantle of the One-Eyed King. Eto implies that she knows exactly what Kaneki's gonna do, what he's thinking, and she's like, it's kind of like, you know, a side treat to being an author, writing books and stuff. I kind of know what's gonna happen. And so because of this, Kaneki has already been figured out. Maybe he's going down a path to die in style. Eto is already kind of let us know that she knows what Kaneki's true personality is. For instance, how he's kind of suicidal or how he acts. And it's kind of been hinted that she might know about his mother's situation as well. So with this, Eto's kind of, in a way, manipulating but not manipulating Kaneki. And Kaneki knows what she's kind of getting at. And so he wants to, you know, probably take upon the mantle himself and then die with the One-Eyed King to, you know, have changed the entire world. But there's another thing we need to discuss that does not need to be overlooked. In the latest chapter, one of the final words it said is that Eto tells Kaneki, like, I want you to know my wish. I want you to kill the One-Eyed King. Which, that is very, 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 very mysterious. Like, Eto wants Kaneki to kill the One-Eyed King. And then Eto says to Farrotto, like, you know, the One-Eyed King is in your bellies. Which the king is about to probably be born. So what does this necessarily mean? Well, for one, what if Eto is implying this? There's two ways to interpret this. Eto could be saying, once this is all said and done, your last job is done, it's over, is there a possibility you could kill me? Now, hear me out, okay? As I said earlier, Eto was the stand-in One-Eyed King. What if Eto is telling Kaneki to kill her? Maybe to kill her and put her down. Kill the One-Eyed King. Or, the other interpretation that goes along with the fact of Kaneki's real personality at this moment since he's suicidal, is that Eto's pretty much saying, die in style. That's a way you can also say, kill the One-Eyed King. So, overall, the true One-Eyed King, the way it's going right now, it's all pointing towards Kaneki. He's being set up to be the One-Eyed King. And at this time, though, the way it's going, I believe that is probably to be true, because there's just so much evidence supporting Eto kind of grooming Kaneki into the king, and then Kaneki, with his, you know, choice and mentality of how he wants to die in style, along with, you know, how he wants to be loved and stuff, it kind of fits with that overall description. And then, like I said, these other candidates, like Farrotto, Arima, Hide, and all that, I mean, there's chances, but very slim chances, and Kaneki seems to be one of the most obvious. Now, Hide, you can't throw him off the table, but even then, there's not any evidence to support that, so that's going to kind of be brushed aside for now. So at this time, who is the One-Eyed King? I'd say Kaneki. Until then, I'm going to go with that, and we'll see where it goes from this point onward. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this subject. I'm going to make a separate video. I want to be talking about the picture that Ashita-sensei posted on his Twitter, like yesterday, about Farrotto. I want to be making a video on that. And I also want to make a video discussing, most likely, Matsuri Washu. I'll probably make a video discussing him as well. But stay tuned to that. You all have a wonderful day or not, wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.